our God, is a God of amazing transformation. He can take the most difficult, bitter situations and turn them into something beautiful. When we feel lost and alone in our pain, God is there. He reaches out with love and healing. He wants to replace our hurt with hope. He desires to turn our sorrow into joy. God understands our pain. He sees our tears, and He longs to bring us comfort and peace. He is the master of turning things around. Nothing is impossible for Him. In the book of Exodus, we read about the Israelites and their journey out of slavery. They were finally free from Egypt, but their journey was not easy. They faced many challenges. One of these was at a place called Marah. The Israelites were desperate for water. They found some at Marah, but it was bitter and undrinkable. Can you imagine the disappointment? They had come so far, only to face another obstacle. This is often how life feels, isn't it? Just when we think things are getting better, something else comes along to challenge us. The Israelites cried out to God in their distress. They were in a dire situation, surrounded by bitterness and despair, with no clear way out. Their hearts were heavy, and their spirits were low. In their desperation, they turned to the only source of hope they knew. And what did God do? He listened. He responded. He did not turn a deaf ear to their cries. Instead, He showed them that He was present, that He cared deeply about their suffering. He instructed Moses to throw a piece of wood into the water. This act might have seemed simple, even strange, but it was a profound demonstration of faith and obedience, and miraculously, the bitter water became sweet and drinkable. What was once a source of pain and frustration was transformed into a blessing, a source of life and refreshment. When we face bitter experiences, we can learn from the Israelites. Their story teaches us that no matter how dire our circumstances, there's always hope. We can take our pain to God in prayer. Just as the Israelites did, we can pour out our hearts to Him, knowing that He listens and cares. Prayer is our lifeline in times of trouble. God hears our prayers. He is always ready to listen, to comfort, and to guide us through our darkest moments. He cares about our pain. He is not indifferent to our struggles. His heart is moved by our suffering, and He desires to bring us comfort and peace. And He wants to bring us relief. He wants to turn our bitterness into sweetness, our despair into hope. He may not always remove the difficulty, but He will provide us with the strength and grace to get through it. With His help, we can face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and find peace in the midst of our trials. Sometimes our bitterness stems from hurt and resentment we hold towards others. These feelings can fester within us, growing stronger with each passing day. When someone wrongs us, it can be incredibly difficult to let go of the anger and pain. We replay the events in our minds, feeling the sting of betrayal over and over again. But holding on to bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It harms us more than it harms them, eating away at our peace and happiness. The Bible tells us in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 31 to 32, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. These emotions can consume us, leading to more conflict and sorrow. They create a cycle of negativity that is hard to break. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. This is a call to rise above our pain and choose love and understanding. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It doesn't erase the wrong or the hurt that was caused. It means choosing to release the other person from our judgment and anger. It's about letting go of the desire for revenge and finding peace within ourselves. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of bitterness. When we forgive, we are not condoning the actions of others, but we are choosing to prioritize our own well-being. This is a difficult process, but it is essential for our own healing and spiritual growth. By releasing the poison of bitterness, we open ourselves up to a life filled with peace, joy, and love. God's purpose in our pain. It's easy to question God when we're going through hard times. We often find ourselves in moments of deep reflection, wondering about the reasons behind our suffering. Why me? We may ask. Why is this happening? These questions can weigh heavily on our hearts, making us feel isolated and lost. But God sees the bigger picture. He understands the intricate details of our lives, the parts we cannot see or comprehend. He has a plan for our lives, even when we can't see it. His plans are woven with threads of hope and purpose, even in our darkest moments. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse reassures us that our pain is not in vain. God can take even the most painful experiences and use them for good. Just as a tapestry is made of both light and dark threads, our lives are a blend of joy and sorrow. He can use them to strengthen our faith, much like a climber who gains strength and resilience with each challenging ascent, to teach us valuable lessons, guiding us like a mentor who imparts wisdom and knowledge, and to draw us closer to Him. In our moments of quiet reflection and prayer, we find solace and a deeper connection with the divine. Trusting in the unseen. It takes faith to believe that God is working all things together for our good, especially when we are surrounded by pain and uncertainty. But faith is trusting in what we cannot see. It is believing that God is who He says He is, and that He will do what He promises. Even when we don't understand what God is doing, we can choose to trust His heart. We can choose to believe that He loves us and that He is working everything out for our ultimate good. Embracing the sweetness of victory. When we surrender our bitterness to God, He replaces it with something beautiful. He fills us with His peace, His love, and His joy. This is the sweetness of victory that comes from trusting in God. This victory might not look how we expect. It might not mean our circumstances magically change, but it will mean our hearts are changed. We will experience a deep sense of peace and freedom that only comes from knowing God is in control. A testimony of transformation. Our transformed lives become a powerful testimony to God's grace. When people see how God has brought us through our trials, they are encouraged. They see that our faith is real and that God can do the same for them. Our stories of overcoming bitterness can inspire others to place their hope in God. We become living examples of His love, His power, and His faithfulness. Living in gratitude. When we focus on God's goodness and faithfulness, it becomes easier to let go of bitterness. Gratitude shifts our perspective. It helps us to see the good, even in the midst of challenging circumstances. Take time each day to thank God for His blessings. Thank Him for His love, His provision, and His presence in your life. The more we focus on what we are thankful for, the less room there will be for bitterness in our hearts. A final word of hope. Dear friends, if you are struggling with bitterness today, know that you are not alone. God sees your pain. He cares for you deeply, and He wants to bring you healing and wholeness. Turn to Him in prayer. Seek His forgiveness. Trust in His plan, even when you don't understand it. Embrace the truth that He is working all things together for your good. And allow Him to transform your bitter experiences into sweet victories.